Hello and welcome to the George Groves Boxing Club. I'm the Saint, George Groves, the former WBA super middleweight world champion and once upon a time the #1 ranked super middleweight with a Ring Magazine belt. Now, I've given myself the full billing that I would do when I'm really trying to impress someone with my old #1 in the world gag. And the reason for that is because we want to talk about the boxing that happened tonight up in Liverpool, headlined by Ben Whittaker taking on Braian Suarez. He had stepped up to that headline position after Callum Smith had to withdraw from his fight against Morrell, which, gotta be honest, looked like an awesome fight. I think Morrell called out Whittaker, but Whittaker stuck with his original opponent, Suarez, who we was told was going to be a test. It wasn't. It was another first round knockout for Ben Whittaker. So what do we make of the fight? What do we make of Ben Whittaker? And what is going to happen next for him? So breaking down the fight, there's not an awful lot to break down because the fight's over in the first round. Ben Whittaker comes out, he boxes well, he shapes up well, he's got nice balance, he's got good hand speed, doesn't really do anything out of the ordinary. He boxes well, you know, maybe exactly as you would expect him to. He's a well-schooled, drilled with a high amateur pedigree. You know, I like Ben Whittaker, the way he fights, you know, whether there's going to be things that he doesn't have in his arsenal as he gets to the very top, we'll only find out if he ever gets there. But for now, he shapes up really well. Like, if you're a young fighter and you're looking at someone with good balance and you're looking for someone who has a good boxing IQ, Ben Whittaker is definitely one to look up to because he has a lot of shots in his arsenal. He has a lot of tricks to his game. He can adjust the distance really well. He's got, you know, lightning fast reflexes, fast hands, and he has the confidence to pull off the moves a lot of the time. But we didn't need to see any of that tonight, really. You know, he came out, he settled Suarez, and then once he lands a right hook, just there above the ear, right on the temple. Suarez, he takes one and he's sort of, whether he might have felt the effects of it or not, and then the second one goes in and he crumbles. It's a implosion, like a controlled demolition, which is a shame for him, isn't it? And it's a shame for us as fans because we don't essentially need Ben Whittaker to be in a life and death, but we do want to see more than, you know, less than a round, and we do want to see him have to, you know, work through supper a little bit. And the last two fights haven't been that. Now, the first fight he had with Matchroom, he fought a guy with a totally padded record, and this time around they said, no, this guy Suarez is decent, he's solid, he's got loads of knockout wins, but, you know, if you go through it, that doesn't stack up. He went 10 rounds with Lyndon Arthur, and that is sort of his claim to fame for us here in the UK. I was there that night, I covered that fight, and Lyndon Arthur didn't box particularly well and still stopped the guy. So I think that just shows you the level of Suarez. You know, for anyone with a padded record or not to get knocked out in the first round, the fighter who's done the knockouting has usually done okay, ain't done nothing wrong. So it's not necessarily Ben Whittaker's fault that this is what's happened, but it does raise question marks, doesn't it? Because Ben Whittaker, who has all this talent, in yet time and time again is getting undermatched, and you have to wonder why. Because the light heavyweight division is stacked with loads of great fighters, loads of great fights that could be made for Ben Whittaker right now that are not getting made. So let's get into that. So the most interesting thing tonight is the interview with Ben Whittaker with his promoter Eddie Hearn and his trainer Andy Lee in the ring after the fight, where they announced that his next fight will be in the States on the undercard of a big American fight. That'll be in the summertime, I think it was June, and that he will have a huge fight back in Birmingham second half of this year, and it will be against one of the top Brits or maybe an international guy. You know, it'll be a ranking, it'll be a push towards a final eliminator for one of the world titles. And Eddie Hearn said next year this guy beats anyone. Now that is a huge bold statement from Eddie Hearn. He's been known to do that over the years and say some outlandish things. Now, there's a lot of potential around Ben Whittaker, and Andy Lee, who's a very experienced boxing head, is saying wonderful things about him, but we are yet to see it in the ring, and you never know quite how good someone is until they have to go out and prove it. So sometimes guys can be in the gym and they can show you all the work you need to see, and underneath the lights on fight night, it doesn't happen. Or when things get tough, can they survive and get through a crisis? Can they change and adapt with the guys who are at the top level? And we haven't seen that from Ben Whittaker yet. Maybe he's been doing it in the gym, but maybe not. Because take that summer fight out of the equation. I want to see Ben in a fight second half of this year, back in the UK. Maybe he can headline in Birmingham, and it's got to be against one of the Brits, because in the light heavyweight division, there's a lot of good fighters. There's a lot of good competitive fights that can be made Brit on Brit in the light heavyweight division. So the guy who's supposed to headline tonight, Callum Smith, a fellow who I know reasonably well, we boxed all them years ago. He's still going strong, now up at light heavyweight, out injured and hasn't boxed since last year. So where he's at by the end of the year, is that not a fantastic fight if he's back in shape, if he gets the Morel fight rescheduled and comes through that? Would they be looking at Smith as a step too far for Ben Whittaker or not? Do you then have to take him off the leash and put him in with anyone? You know, barring the top two guys or a Benavidez, is there anyone really that Ben Whittaker needs to worry about? Because in the UK, we've got your Joshua Buatsis, who has been there, done it, been in some domestic dust-ups, you know, come through them. He's had it tough at times. His career feels like he's been waiting for that world title opportunity, but does he deserve a Ben Whittaker fight? I think that's a great fight. Willie Hutchinson, he's doing well. He just had a fantastic win against Taylor. So, you know, Hutchinson, who's a tricky fighter to figure out, to pin down, you know, that could be a really exciting fight. That's a fight that I would definitely tune in for and see, okay, right, Hutchinson's going to ask some problems of Whittaker. Can Whittaker find the answers for them? I don't know. Also on the list would be Anthony Yard. If he's staying at light heavyweight, obviously he's coming off that loss last year. But he's in the gym. Anthony Yard's in the picture. And Craig Richards. Like, I just think this guy is sort of overlooked. And he's certainly affiliated to Matchroom. Is that not an easy fight to make? Is that the fight that we're going to see at the end of this year? So for me to really start believing in Ben Whittaker, I need him to fight one of these guys and dominate them. It can't be guys like Suarez, who went 10 rounds with Lyndon Arthur, and Arthur didn't look good that night. So that's not comparison for me. That's not it. If this is what it is, if Ben Whittaker's going to have 2 fights and then he's ready to take on the world, like Eddie Hearn says, then you got to prove it, fella. Like, we need a fight like that. And I'm sure Ben will fight anyone who's put in front of him, or at least I hope he will. I hope he is that guy. Now, he does have that problem of being blessed in that he has a crazy amount of followers online, which is so important now to not just the boxing world, but the world in general, it would seem. And there, he has a value there. I mean, it's not quite correlating over to ticket sales, but the fact that he gets so much traffic online, he has that value. Eddie Hearn loves it. He understands that, Eddie Hearn, and he can't really risk anything other than Ben Whittaker looking good. But at some point, you can't keep matching him and him getting first round knockouts if we can pick holes in the opponent. So he needs to step up, Ben Whittaker. Andy Lee, who is a you know, he's a boxing head. He's a guy who knows his boxing, lives and breathes boxing. He's travelled the world. He understands boxing. He's seen something special in Ben Whittaker. And I know he wouldn't be the sort of guy who would say these things that he does about Ben if they wasn't true. But we got to see it, man. We got to see it next. We got to see it soon. And if it's not in this American fight, then it's going to have to be at the end of the year in with someone who's going to ask questions of him. Because if Ben is as good as what we're being told, he needs to be a couple of fights away from handling your Bivol, your Beterbievs, maybe your Benavidez's, or who else is coming through. Because, as I say, 4 years in now as a pro. Now, maybe some of that might not have been his fault, but he's yet to step up to 12 rounds. This fight this evening, he weighed in quite a few pounds over the light heavyweight limit, and I always thought, is he going to struggle to make this weight at one day? But you know, at his age, he's probably done that bit of maturing that you do from 20 to 25. So where you sort of naturally get a bit heavier, and then you can no longer make the weight. It's got to happen for Ben, otherwise we were worshipping a false prophet. I really hope not. But I want to see him in the mix with these other Brits who have already fought each other. He's got to join that little group, show his worth, show how good he is, and you know, get us truly believing. Otherwise, we're going to be left scratching our heads, wondering, is he just insta-famous? So, yeah, that's the assessment of Ben Whittaker tonight. Hopefully it doesn't sound too harsh. I just want to see him in a better fight next time. He must be in a better fight next time, and he must fight one of these Brits by the end of the year. Eddie Hearn, make it happen. If you don't, then we know you're protecting your viral fighter. Until next time.